Hey guys, it's Tori and I am here once again with Grayscale. How's it going, y'all?
What's going on? Good, how are you?
Good. It feels like I just saw you guys, but also it's been a few months. And a lot has happened in the last little bit, huh?
Yeah, a lot. We put out a record yesterday.
Yes.
Nella Vita, our
Congrats.
sophomore, thank you very much, our sophomore Fearless Records release. And we're doing our first headlining tour.
Yeah.
In Orlando now.
I know. No big deal or anything. And you're only a few days into the headlining tour. But the last time I saw you guys, you were opening for State Champs. So how have the vibes been different just amongst the camp, being on your first headliner and having this new album? Like, it kind of just feels like a totally new chapter right now.
Yeah. No, it's been amazing. All the bands are amazing. We're super thankful to have the incredible support acts that we have. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's very different. It's different going, we spent the last couple of years supporting, and now to have bands supporting us, it's like, it's cool. It's different, but it's very cool. We're, a lot of responsibility.
The
but
stars of the show.
Good stuff. Yeah. No, it's good stuff though, for sure.
Absolutely. And you've paid your dues. You worked your way up, and so now you're giving these other bands a chance. Was there any specific reason why you chose these other bands to open for you guys on this run?
They're all bands that we have a lot of respect for as musicians and as people. We like their music a lot, and we heard great things about all of them. So we thought the bill rounded out nicely with Belmont's kind of like heavier side, Rich People's a little more like droney indie sounding, and Bearings is like somewhere in the middle, and we're somewhere towards the pop spectrum a little. But yeah, no, I think it's a pretty well-rounded bill, and they're all bands that we like.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of you lead me perfectly to my next question, because Nella Vita is such a culmination of so many different genres, and I think the big observation has been that you're kind of mixing up your genre a little bit, and there's definitely a progression in your sound with this album versus previous releases. So where do you see the future trajectory of your career heading as you continue to evolve as a band in this way?
It's hard because it's like, I don't know. I feel like we've been asked this quite a few times already with the release.
Cool. I'm redundant with my interview questions.
I don't mean you. I just mean like online and stuff. Like we did like a Reddit AMA yesterday, and like people were asking about it, and it's kind of hard to explain. But like for us, it doesn't feel like a change.
It's not like a forced thing.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of things like it's like a natural progression that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think for us, like we grew up listening and learning all kinds of music. So like I played drums my whole life, so did Nick, our drummer, obviously, and when we started playing music, we learned jazz first, and then we transitioned to rock. Like Andrew plays
like
a lot
jazz, funk, blues,
like
shred, metal kind of stuff.
There's just
all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot of different influences that like we have as people individually, and also like when we learned our respective instruments, grew up playing all kinds of stuff. So I mean, yeah, like there's definitely different sounds and stuff that we added on this record, more so than the last one, in some ways, for sure. But I don't think of it as like a change. You know what I mean? And it never even felt that way a little bit for us, and that's just kind of I think it's just the way that we write, and it's we love all kinds of bands, old bands, new bands, like, and there's there's so much amazing music in the world, and so many places that we all pull inspiration from and like to write. So yeah, that's kind of what made this record the way it is.
For sure. And I mean, you can't help that even as people, you continue to grow as you get older, and as that happens, so does your music. Like that just naturally is what happens, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's such a cliche that with interviews we always act surprised when like a band suddenly changes their sound or they do something a little different, but the fact is like most artists tend to as they continue going on. So yeah,
totally.
Just natural. For sure. So what else were you listening to during the recording process that may have snuck its way as an influence in your music? Did you have any albums on repeat or any artists that you were inspired by?
I feel like it was probably different for everybody. I think for me, like, I was listening to a lot of like Talking Heads, a lot of Bleachers at the time. I'm trying to I wouldn't say anything like really prominent that I was listening to. It was like, oh, let's write a song like this. It wasn't really so much that. I just think like kind of touching on
to like whatever I usually listen to. In a way, like I was listening to like Prince and like all kinds of like 80s pop. And
I feel like as a band we listen to Bruno Mars a lot, like you talked about.
That's like one of my favorite artists right now for sure.
I just think it's so interesting to hear what different artists listen to, because it tends to be very different from the music you actually play.
Totally.
Like I just think it's always cool to ask that question.
Yeah. No, definitely. I definitely listen to a lot of like 90s alt rock and a lot of like kind kind of the melodies and stuff, the way that like I kind of structure some of the songs melodically for my parts, like I'm sure take influence from that, but that's just like what I grew up listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know lyrically that something you really wanted to focus on as a theme over all of this album were kind of the darker experiences of life, but looking at it from a more optimistic but also realistic point of view. So why do you think it is so important to share your experiences so publicly through your music?
That's a good question. I feel like Nella Vita as a record is meant to really capture, kind of like you touched on, like the experiences you go through in life, and me telling the stories of the things I've experienced, whether it's like love, nostalgia, grief, death, like everything in between. And I feel like I just wanted to lyrically kind of capture like a very raw, realistic, like kind of in your face display of all that. And I think it's important to do that, because it really was just me writing like honestly from like experience and things I've been through. I mean, it sounds simple, but like I feel like there was a level of like honesty and rawness to it this time around, where I definitely was consciously like, you know, like I want to focus on telling these experiences like in a real way, you know.
Right. And so when you are working on an album, are you thinking more so from a therapeutic point of view of what you want to get out, or is it something where you're consciously thinking about how it's going to impact your audience, or is it a little bit of both? I don't know.
It's definitely cathartic to me. Like that's why I like writing music, writing lyrics to me is such an incredibly cleansing experience. I think it is for all of us, but I think this is our second record. I think the first record we wrote, and I've actually had fans on the tour come up to me and be like, dude, you're like way more open, like with people, like just in general, like just like with fans, like you're way more like seem less closed off. And it kind of took me by surprise, but I think that kind of leads into what you were saying, where like I think initially it was just for me, and then now it is still for me. It's cleansing for sure, but like seeing how people were really truly affected by like our first record definitely fuels me more the second time around, not only for myself but for other people. Like, you know, I want to be super honest about these experiences and tell these stories that, you know, sometimes may suck to talk about, but like I think not only will it feel good for me, but like a lot of people hopefully can confide in it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know you guys were writing the success of your last album for a long time because of the way that it impacted so many fans. So it definitely had a lasting impression, and I could see how that would happen again with this album too, which is cool.
Hope so, for sure.
Yeah, and maybe you guys have different answers to this question, I don't know, but which song was the most challenging for you to complete on this album, and why?
The song "What's on Your Mind," I think.
That was definitely, for sure, me too.
Yeah.
Collectively, because it actually started off as like, the demo was like the heaviest song that we had, the heaviest demo that we brought in the studio, and we're like, here's a song that we want to do. I think the working title was Song 3, right?
Yeah.
Creative.
It was just like, we were in the studio, it was so heavy, and we were like working on it, and it was just like, everything we tried, like we weren't really like it wasn't working for us, and we would try these parts. I mean, like me specifically, I was sitting there trying to do like lead parts for an hour. Nothing's really working.
Our producer really liked it, but it was definitely like the heaviest song on the spectrum. And then like after like multiple days of trying to work through it, it ended up like, you know, we kind of hit a standstill with our producer and each other, and it was like, holy shit, like I feel like this song's never gonna get finished. So Dallas actually like isolated himself and rewrote the whole, like used one part from the original demo and totally restructured the song, and now what you have is like this club trap song. So it went from being like this oddball heavy song to this like oddball electronic song, like totally different side of the spectrum, but still like the absolute on the end of it, you know what I mean? So it was but it took forever, and like the final product we're super happy with and we love, and it's definitely a little bit different and a little out there, but we're like super stoked how it came out.
Yeah, that is such a wild journey. Y'all just took me on a ride with that.
It was almost like he was like angrily like we're never gonna finish. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go just do it. And he like came back and we were like, let's do that. That's sick. Yeah.
Totally. And also, there might be some fans that are discovering your band now with this new album. So which song do you think they should check out as a first impression that you think best encompasses the chapter of the band that you're in now?
That's really hard, actually. I don't know. What do you think?
I know it's hard to pick favorites.
I know we picked Painkiller because it kind of like towed the line of like both albums in a way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
was like the one that was really good. I think. I mean, I love like Young. I think Young is really cool.
Yeah. I think some of the singles, like Painkiller, we chose to be the first one, and that was kind of intentional to be like the bridge track, because it had like kind of the new elements we were adding, but still was like old Grayscale, like rock stuff. So I don't know. I would say like Painkiller's a good one. I think Young's a good one. I think Baby Blue would be a good one too. I think those all kind of capture like, you know, the whole record, like every side of it, sort of. Yeah.
So you've given them a little pool of choices now. So no excuses
take
to not
pick.
listen to it.
Yep.
All of them. All the songs.
Yeah, all of them.
Yes. So aside from this headlining tour, which obviously everyone should be coming out to if you're going to a city near them, but what else is coming up for you guys after this? What else is for the rest of the year?
We go to the UK with Real Friends, and we are supporting them. Belmont, the band who's on this tour and is awesome, is going to be on that bill as well.
Nice.
It's Europe, UK, and that'll take us to the end of the year. I think that's our last tour for the year.
I think we got the shows we just announced too with Mayday, right?
Yeah, we announced a couple shows in Mayday Parade, like one-offs. There might be some other interesting one-off shows that people will be interested to see when they come out. Some in November, some in December. But other than that, like the last tour we're doing is with Real Friends in the UK.
Nice. Well, still keeping us on our toes. There's definitely more in the works, it sounds like. So that's good. Exciting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're stoked.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for hanging out. It was great catching up.
No, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And everybody watching, if you haven't already, make sure you pick up Grayscale's new album, subscribe for more videos, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
See ya.